Welcome to Transits Friday. So today, Friday, the 1st of March. Can you believe it's March already? I can't believe how fast 2024 is going. So 1st of March until next week. So let's have a look at what the transits are. This week, we had Saturn, Mercury, and the Sun conjoined in Pisces, all at 9 degrees. It's a very precise conjunction on Wednesday. How's that for you? Did you see anything? Did you experience anything with those flavors? And then the previous weekend, we also had the full moon as well. So we had the full moon in Virgo. And how was that? How was that? Was that a big combination for you? There's a lot that came out for me in terms of advertising, in terms of becoming more public and gaining more followers as well. And, there's a big thing about becoming a little bit more exposed and dealing with exposure as well for me, which honestly it was a bit easier than I thought. Like when I first thought about ads coming out and things like that, I was actually quite scared and feeling a bit uneasy and thinking about all the protection that I would have to do in terms of like rituals and obsidians and stones and things just to keep my energy for myself. But actually it was a lot easier than that. Like, so that's what the full moon was for me. Let me share my screen. And this week we have a much calmer week in terms of astrology transits. There's going to be just a couple of main transits I want to talk about, and they're mainly like squares to Uranus. And yeah, I don't really talk about the moon's change of signs very much because it's passing moods, it's like, okay, so right now we have a moon opposition Uranus and it might be triggering something, it might be, but it's very passing. It's very like in the moment. Like I always notice whenever the moon crosses over my Saturn, there is a bit of a Saturnian anxiety that happens. So I would suggest you do track the moon with your chart. But if it's not with your chart, it's a bit and especially if you're learning astrology as well, I think that's a wonderful way to have like a moon journal, and so you can keep track of the moon. Is a wonderful way of doing it. But otherwise, we won't be talking about the transits of the moon here. So let's have a look at this transit I want to focus on. So today we can already see that Venus is coming to square Uranus, and that's one of the main transits of this week. The triple conjunction is still within orb. They've moved on a little bit, but it's still there. Like the sun is being sandwiched between Saturn and Mercury. So still kind of riding that wave, having that sort of energy in the air, picking up on those vibes. Did you feel anxious? I think there's usually a sense of anxiety when we have Saturn, and when we have Saturn triggering or being triggered strongly in the sky as well. Like I said, I had I had the moon crossing over my Saturn yesterday, and there was a sense of anxiety and even anxiety dreams that I had. So there's a little bit of that. Oh, let me change that for days. I just caught this a month. Now, what's interesting about the Venus square Uranus that I want to mention is that this is the last square of the cycle. So Venus and Uranus conjoined at a certain time, and then we had a trine between the two, and then we had a square between the two, and then, an opposition, la la la. It's like any cycle, right, between the planets. So that is the last square. That is the end of a cycle between Venus and Uranus that started in March. So the conjunction between Venus and Uranus happened around the end of March 2023. So we're coming to the last step of this cycle. And what was going on for you in terms of love, in terms of finance, and what was going on there? Because that's what Venus rules. That's the realm of Venus, is money, value, self-worth, relationships, and with Uranus is a lot about awakening. And because it happened in Taurus as well, there's something about self-worth that's sort of like a double whammy there, about values, about self-worth and everything. And in fact, oh no, it wasn't, because Jupiter was in Aries last March. So anyhow, it was a conjunction between Venus and Uranus around March, the end of March last year. All right. So just think about what this cycle has been for you and what you're dealing with now. Because his squares are crisis points. They do require us to adapt and take action as well. And so there's something that we need to take action that relates to this cycle that started in March, or that we even like action about on releasing, because it's the last square as well. So there's something about that. So let's move on. Here, the Venus is 18 on Saturday. So tomorrow, the 2nd, is already 18 degrees, and boom, here we go. The Sunday, 3rd of March, we have the exact square between Venus and Uranus. And a lot of these energy is very electric, is very individual, is very independent. You know, we've got Venus in Aquarius, which already carries that flavor. In square to Uranus, I think, is very, very uncompromising, individual, independent, you know, self-reliant, and all of that. So check the situation there in relation to your partner. If you can have some space, if you can have, you can be, if you can be individuals together, you know, how is that a possibility? I always, like I always say, Uranus always, and Venus with Uranus or Mars with Uranus always does trigger or challenge any codependence. So that's the flavor in the air. Codependence will be challenged. And also, you know, check if you're aligned with your values, you know, what's going on. Where is Aquarius in your chart? Where is Uranus in your chart? Are you having a long-term transit of Uranus? That's being activated by the square with Venus. Remember, bringing all of that into your natal chart will give you an opportunity to make it yours, to go deeper, to go much deeper into the interpretations, right? So that's the main transit I think I wanted to talk about for this week. But let's keep moving. So this is Monday. It's still within orb. That Venus Uranus. We also have Mars trine South Node and sextile North Node here, and sextile Chiron as well. And this is Tuesday. This is Wednesday, the 6th of March. And you can see the other transit that's beginning to form here as well is Mercury Neptune. So Mercury is coming to conjoin Neptune, and Mars is coming to square that Uranus as well. So right after Venus squares Uranus, we'll have Mars as well. So again, an energy that's very uncompromising, that's, you know, a lot about self-reliance, is a lot about being able to be free or feel free and autonomous. I think Mars talks about autonomy a lot, and the Mars square Uranus perhaps is telling us to find more freedom, but to try and work more constructively with this energy, because you might just send everything, you know, just throw the whole thing in the fan and just say, I don't care anymore. But those are like a couple of days to keep an eye and really try to really center and observe those feelings, but maybe not necessarily act on them, because you might regret. This is the thing with the square. This is the thing with Uranus, even though it is about action, because it's a crisis point. When we have Mars Uranus, it can be the wrong action as well, depending on a situation, if you're really impulsive. So think about your own Mars. Do you tend to be impulsive, or have you got 10 planets in Taurus and you're holding on to, you know, structures that maybe is better if you let go of? You know, again, it really depends on your chart. If it's better to take action or not, it will depend on what you usually do and how you usually work with these energies and where you're at in your life, right? So that's the other transit that's forming. And the Mercury and Neptune, really, I mean, yes, there's a lot about confusion, deception, you know, all these possibilities. But I love what Adam Ellenbaz said. And honestly, I make his words mine. It's like, where is the inspiration in your life? That's what Neptune is about. You know, Neptune at best is about inspiration, spirituality, transcending reality in some positive and constructive way, right? Not just about deception and confusion. So towards the end of next week, because this aspect is not going to perfect until towards the end of the week and perhaps even the next weekend, but it's already like forming, is already going, is already getting an orb. And I would suggest to do all these psychic activities that we love, go deeper into your esoteric studies, go deeper into your tarot, studies, and your relationship with your cards, and creative work, and creative writing, that's that Mercury Neptune as well. And Mars will be very close to perfect as well, but not just yet. But I will talk about these transits next week a little bit more, because that's when it's going to happen. So let me know in the comments how you're feeling, how this week was for you. If you have any plans for this week, if you have any plans for these transits that are coming as well, if you can see that Mars is square Uranus somewhere in your chart and you have any idea what this might be, I'd love to hear from you and know about your life and your situation and who you are, because you're an individual for me. All right. So I am Friend of the Paiva, Hitchhiking Stars, and I hope to see you again. And I hope to see you next week until Friday. Take care, and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.